Welcome everyone back to my channel. My name is Sherry and this is Granny's Sewing Room. And today I'm going to do a tutorial on how I made my sewing machine cover. And it is fully lined. I used foam and it stands up on itself. There's no sewing machine under there. And I really like that. I like my covers to stand up. So I'm going to show you my method of making this and see if you like it. Maybe you might want to make one for yourself. And yesterday, as I kind of was playing around, I thought, I have these. Let me show you what it is. I had a big dog, and I always save their big boxes that their treats came in. Can you see what it is? Those are nice boxes. So I made a matching trash can cover, fully lined, and I'll kind of explain how I did this. What I did, I took a piece of fabric, I measured from here, and I added a seam allowance, 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I measured all the way down, across the bottom, over on the other side, and back down, and another 1/2 inch for the seam allowance. So I think my measurements was like 8, 9 wide, because you measure the width and you add your seam allowance. And then I added, it was the width of the fabric plus some, so I had to make a seam to add it because I wanted this to be one continuous piece of fabric. And then on the sides I measured from here all the way down and added seam allowance to the width, the hem, and then the seam allowance on the bottom. I laid out my long piece. I marked where I was going to have the bottom, marked it with the friction pin, and then I sewed these side pieces onto the sides of this long piece to create the bottom. And then I sewed it on each side. And then I just pushed it down and folded it over, and I made me a fitted box. Let me take it off here and show you what it looks like. So basically a big tube, a big bag. But on this bag, the bottom is one continuous piece for the wide part, this part. So the bottom is one continuous piece, and I just sewed the sides to that long strip of fabric and created it that way. So I think it turned out pretty good. And I'll get her back in there. And you gotta fiddle with it a little bit to get it to fit and stretch it down. But I like that method. There was only 1, 2, 3, 4 seams, 4 side seams. And plus the fabric isn't long enough, so you have to sew a piece of fabric onto the to the longest part. So there's my trash can to match my sewing machine covers. See? No sewing machine under there. So, okay, let's get on with the tutorial. Has anyone told you you're special today? If not, let me be the first, because you are in God's eyes. So we will get on with the tutorial. The first part is let's measure our machine and then get our pieces cut. The first measurement I took was the length. I did the length of my sewing machine, and you want to make sure you have enough room for your cords and your hand wheel. So I measured that, and mine is about 18, so I gave myself an inch, 2 inches. I actually gave myself 2 inches because in case I make a mistake, I can fix it. So I measured mine 20. And then after the length measurement, then I do the height measurement. Mine measures about 12.5, so I probably went 14 or 15. And then after you write that down, you want to cut 2 for front and back. So after you write that down, then you want to take your depth measurement. So I measure my depth. And mine's about a 9. I believe I want a 10 or a 12. And you already know your height, so you cut 2 pieces of fabric for your depth and height. The height would be the same. And then after that, I think that's all the measurements you need, because it's easy to cut the front piece, because you want the front piece, the length of your machine, which I did 20, and then the depth of the machine. But the 2 fronts and back sides are all the same height, but just different measurements on the width. I hope that made sense. Now let's get to cutting, and I'll show you all the pieces I have cut out. After you measure your sewing machine, you want to sew the front and the back, and that will be the length of it, the long ways, and you will need to cut the main fabric, the lining, and I'm using foam. So I tried to cut this smaller so it stays out of my seam lines, or you can cut it the same size and then go back and trim like I did my first one. You will need to cut 2 of each. For the sides, you measure the depth of it plus the height of it, just like here, and you cut 2 main pieces, 2 lining, and 2 foam. And then for the top of it, you cut the length of it and the depth of it. So if it's 20, in my case 20 by 10, that's what I cut. You cut only 1 top and 1 lining and 1 foam. So there's your measurements. And then for the handle, I don't have a specific way of measuring that. I just get this together and then I judge how fat and how long I want my handle on top. And I also put foam in that. So I usually use some leftover fabric that I have after cutting all these pieces. Now on to the next step. Now the next step is I take some 505 spray, and you do not have to do this, but I just spray so it kind of stays down, because I want to stitch. I want to stitch my foam all the way around on all pieces, front, back, sides, and top. So that's what you want to do. So I just kind of give it a little spray. And it just helps it hold it down. I need a new can because this is spraying all crazy everywhere. Came up here. So do that to all your pieces, and go to the sewing machine and sew it all the way around to catch that foam. So I'm just sewing my foam down. I'm using a very big basting stitch, a large basting stitch, and it doesn't have to be pretty. You just want to get it so it catches the foam to hold it in place. So if you do not like this stitch after you've sewn it together and it's showing on the outside, you can take it off easy enough. So I'm just wanting to hold that foam in place. Okay, let's go back over to the cutting table and start pinning it together. Alright, I'm going to take one of my front or back pieces, one of my side pieces, and I am going to clip them together. I am using a 1/2 inch seam allowance here, So that's what I'm using. You can create whatever seam allowance you want. So I'm going to do the other side as well. And now I'm going to go sew each side down. And I will go to the sewing machine and I will come back after I get that sewed. Okay, so I have the two side pieces sewn on. Now I take the other front or back piece, and one other thing I like to do, I like to mark my seam allowance. It just helps me sew a little bit better, and I need all the help I can get. So I'm just going to lay this on the 1/2 inch and make a mark. So I just sew it on, or pin it to the other side. And then you do the same thing to the lining. You sew the sides to the front and the back. And it's going to end up looking like a tube. So I'm going to go get this side sewed and I will be back. Now I'm going to do the same thing to my lining. Sew it together, mark my seam allowances. And then I will be back to show you the next step that I do. Okay, I'm going to press my seams open. And I saved this piece of wood from my trim for my patio doors. I wished it was flat right here, but it's not. But I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to stick it in here like this. Open my seams up on it. And I'm just going to hold it. And see how it opens my seams up nice? But I'm going to open up all my seams, and then I will show you what we'll do next, because we're going to join these two together. Then we'll start on the top. But open it up like that. Now if this was flat, I know you can buy a tool like this, but I was going to try to see if I can get this to work for me. Okay, those are all open. And now to this one. I didn't catch all my foam. I cut my foam a little too short, but that's okay. That really opens them seams up nicely. Okay, let's turn this one right side out. And I gotta get my clips. And now I'm going to put this one over that one, and I'm going to match my seams up. And I'm just going to clip them. So I want right sides together. And start clipping them seams together. And this part I'm just going to serge because this is going to be the hem of my cover. So get them seams together. And clip her all together. Hope you can see. Oh, I am so sorry if you can't. Might have to stretch it just a little bit. Okay, so I have it all clipped together, right sides together. Now I am going to go serge this all the way around. And I'll take you over to the serger with me. Okay, just going to go serge it. Whoa. Opening that seam. Okay, let's go back over to the pressing table. I got it all serged. I want to press it and turn it right side out. Okay, I am going to press this seam. I like to set my stitches. And now I'm just going to turn it right side out and tuck it back in onto itself. And roll it up and give it a good press. Put a couple clips just to hold it in place as I press. And keep going all the way around, pressing that up. Because we don't want the lining to show. Now I am going to go top stitch the bottom here, and then I am going to stitch the lining to the top of my cover to make it act as one piece. So let me get some of that clipped together. And once again, matching up your seam allowances, your side seams, and open your seams up there. And give some clips to hold it in place. Now you would be putting wrong sides together in this direction. There you go. So let's go stitch. We're going to top stitch the bottom, and then I'm going to stitch this all around to make it one piece. And we'll have just like a tube. Okay, I'm going to go get that done, and I will be back with the next step. So this is what we have so far. I just have a big tube. Now I am going to crease my side seams by pressing them, giving them a good press. You could top stitch these if you wanted to hold that press in there, but I'm not going to, but you could. There you go. Just gave it a good little press to make it square. And see, now you have it hemmed already. So we're going to set this part aside and we're going to work on our top. So let's go over to the cutting table and start on the top. Okay, here's my top and here's my lining. But I don't want to put the lining on quite yet. I want to decide, I'm just grabbing the scraps that I have, and I'm going to decide what I want for a handle. How wide do I want my handle? Because I'm going to put foam in my handle, and I think this handle might be plenty big enough. And I'm going to sew the sides up like that. So let me show you how I'm going to do my handle. So I just grabbed a piece of scrap, And let's see if I have some scrap foam. Well, I do. And it doesn't need to be any bigger than that. And now I think I'm going to just sew a straight line down the middle to hold my foam in. And I will be right back after I do that. Okay, I sewed my foam in just to hold it there. And I'll make sure that stays on the bottom. So I'm just going to fold this piece in half. I had a little extra foam. I didn't need that much foam. So just take some of it out. With this folded in half like that. Yeah, I had too much foam. And I just used my scrap foam as well. Now I am going to go sew serge on each side of this. I'm going to serge it. And then I'll turn it inside out, and I will be back. All right, this is what I have so far. And I don't know if you've ever tried one of these, but they're amazing. They come in 3 sizes, and when you buy them, you get all 3 sizes. So we drop that down there, and we tuck this in. And this is too thick to tuck, so I just pull it through like this. Grab a hold of it. And start turning it inside out. And then when I have the little chopstick in there, I poke out my corners. Okay, I'm going to go give that a press. So I went ahead and top stitched each side of it. And now I am going to, I've already got my foam on this, sewed on here. So I'm just going to find the center. Find the center of this. Lay the center there, and then I'm going to bring it up just a little bit like that. And I need some pins. The center, and I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. I'm going to tuck that end under. That would be my handle. Now, I am not a perfectionist when I sew. So I'm going to sew up this way because I just want a little handle, and probably 2.5 inches up. Let's measure. 3 inches. I'm going 3 inches up. I'm pinning it again. And 3 inches up. Pin it again. I hate these bent pins I get. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew across, up, over, and down. Across, up, over, and down. And that will be my handle. So I'm going to go get that done, and then we will go on with putting the lining, sew it on just like this. Because there's going to be seams up on top inside of our cover, but you aren't going to see them seams. We could leave a hole and turn it inside out, but I don't want to do all that. I'm going for easy and fast. So let's get the handle sewed on, and let's get the lining sewed on. So with my handle, I'm going to sew over and up. To about right there. Then across. And I'm sewing right back onto my top stitching that I did earlier. Oh, not enough room. All right, there's our handle. Now I'm going to turn it over, and I am going to just clip a couple spots and sew this around. There you go. And I'm going to sew it from this side so I can see. So I might have to trim some of the lining, but that's okay. Now I just made it one piece. So let's go attach it to our base and we'll be done. All right, let's get to pinning it. That's what it's gonna look like. Woohoo! So I gotta turn it inside out. And I'm gonna match the seams up. I like clips, but my fingers get kind of fumbly with them. So the sides I don't do as well. Where's that other side up? Here it is. That pivoting part just isn't quite as easy for me, where you pivot to go around, but I do my best. And now I do the sides. Here we go. Other side. See, now I could put binding around the edges, but nobody's going to see in here, so I just think that's, you know, like I say, I'm not a perfectionist. So now I'm going to go sew, turn it, do the side, turn it, sew down the long side, turn it, and go. So let's see how good I can do, and I will be. I think I'm going to do it with the top part up. I'm going to do it this way. And here we go. Coming to the corner. This is where I find it a little challenging. A little challenging. Turn it and see if I got it. Well, I'm not getting my 1/2-inch seam allowance, but once I get it all attached, then I'll go back and do my 1/2-inch seam allowance. Right now, I just want to make sure I get it attached. At the seam, a little bit more, pivot. Come on. There we go. Two more corners. And we need my stiletto. This one I don't think is going to look cute. One more corner. All right, let's make sure I got everything caught. Well, some of the corners look okay. This one, not so much. This one doesn't look good at all. Let's go back and play with it. Because I can. Now pivot and pull that over to this side. Check out them corners. Not too bad. How's it look? I think it turned out pretty good. So there you have it. A cover for your sewing machine. I'll go give it a nice little press. It's smaller than the other one over here, but now I have two. Okay, two covers down. So I hope you enjoyed. I still have to do the sides here. I did not do that, so I'm going to do that after this video. But there's the tutorial on how I make my sewing machine covers. And I also made the trash can. Well, there's my tutorial for my sewing machine covers. I hope you enjoyed how I made it. I hope you try one. Hey, if you do make one, post a picture on my Facebook group, Granny's Sewing Room, and let us see what you make. And I hope you enjoyed it, and you guys go out and have a great week. Go do something creative, but whatever you do, do it in the name of the Lord, and your blessings will always come back to you. Now, trying to get this one made is going to be another story. That's a monster. Bye, everyone.